Yesterday we have seen that we have seen the scopes and what is the global scope and what is the local scope and what is the built-in scope. Today we will see the LEGB rule. LEGB rule. LEGB stands for full form of the LEGB is local and closed, global and built-in scope. Built-in. First of all, before going to LEGB rule, we are going to see the what is the scope. Like once again, revising the scope is a region or area, our region or area, our particular our variables or functions able to visible or accessible in the region only. You will see the global and enclosed and local. Global means if you take that a is equals to or number 1 is equals to 10, if you define that variable in the globally, if we write some function like outer function, outer function, I'm not giving any arguments or parameters to the here. I'm able to access or not. First off, I will see. I'm going to call this function to see Python test.py. See, I'm able to access this 10 in the function. If I'm going to create one more function in the outer function, inner function, number 1. If you call this function, I'm going to call this function in the outer only. Like this, I'm going to call. I'm calling this inner function inside the outer function. If you call like this, see. If I want to make it difference, I'm giving the some message here. Inner function. Inner function here. Outer function. Comma. And see. If I try to execute Python test.py. This outer function 10 I got, inner function also 10 I got. If I am going to access that globally, global, global number 1. I try to access this number in the globally. See, I am able to access the global 10 also. If I am trying to change it, I'm going to declare the same number one in the outer function also. See what happens here. See. If I try, I'm going to, I'm defined a new, declared a new variable that like not same variable, but same name I have given, same identifier name I have given number 1 here is equals to 20. This outer function and inner function is going to first to see in the enclosed, this is the enclosed, this thing is enclosed scope. First see in the enclosed scope. If it is not there here, it will check in the global. And we have given one variable with the number 1 is equals to 20 in the enclosed. It will going to take the enclosed. See once again export Python test.py 2020 I got. If I remove and see, if you remove and see we got the 10, 10 and 10. Leave it this one, comment this one. This one give the 10 only answer. Answer is 10 only. See this one, these two, number one and number two. If the number one and number two is present here, number one is present here is equals to 20. Like this, it will take the outer function and inner function takes the 20 20 20 20. If I give that one more number one here and I have reinitialized that number not reinitialized, here I am going to create the same number one here in the local scope. This is the local scope. This one is the local scope. This one is the enclosed scope. This one, sorry. This one is the enclosed scope. See, once I exclude and see, Python distributed P1. Once execute and see, this one got the outer function 20, inner function I got the, I have created that, I have declared new number one is equals to, that like new variable, number one is equals to 30, that's why it is going to take the 30. If I remove and see, if I remove means, it will take the number one is equals to 20 only. It will takes from the 20. See, if you remove this one also, if I remove this one also, it will take from the global. Oh, 10 and 10. First it is search in the locally, then it is goes to the, then it is this function, this inner function first is search in the locally, it will not present, it will close into the outer function like enclosed scope, then then also it is not present, it is go to the globally, then also it is not present, then also it not present, it will raise an error. It will see the, then also it not present, it will see the built-in scope. Then also not present, it will see in the built-in scope. Then also in the built-in scope also that number one is not present. It will raise an error called name error. Name error. Number one is not defined. We have not defined that function. If you define this equals number one is equal to some number here, it will take. See, we got the outer function 100, inner function 100. See, this is the LEBG rule. We will see some more concepts also here. If I define that number here, number 1 is equals to 200, I have defined. See, outer function 200 and inner function also 200. If I number 1 is equals to 300, I have defined. See, it will tries to change just the event. Outer function 200 and inner function is changed to the 300. Like this you are getting. If I am trying to access in the, if I am trying to access in the globally, that globally, globally, number one, number one, it will see I got tested up people. See, we got the name error, name number one is not defined. If we execute before also, not after, if we execute before also, see, name number one is not defined. If you execute after also, after the calling also, number one is number two. Sorry, number one. We got error. We get error only. We are getting the 200 300, but we error is getting from the in which line? Line number 11. See here clearly. File File, where is the file? Python P. Here, file name also given and the line number also it mentioned and the error message here. Error, this is the error message. Name error name. Number one is not defined. See here number is like error is getting from the line number here. Line number 11. Here error is error is getting. If I define that, if I define the number one. Number one something like a 50 I have defined. I will not get any error. See, I will get the global column 50 I got it like this. If I mention here also, local, sorry, not local, sorry, number one is equal to 50. 50. I got function, outer function 200, inner function 300, and the global is 50. But I'm going to remove this one. I'm going to remove this number one and number one here. So if you try to execute this one, if you try to execute this one, Python test.py. See, why I have got that name error? Where that name error I got line number 3 and line number 9 in the module and line number 3. Like it is getting like it is showing like I have told that functions is useful for the reusability and one thing is reusability and another thing is the error tracing. See, where that here mentioning the function also, mentioning the function outer function and here it is mentioning the line number. Inside this outer function, line number 3. See, line number 3 here, inside that outer function. Here it is getting that raising the error, that name error called number one is not defined. Why it is not defined? After the calling the after calling the outer function, I have defined this number one here. If that number one and number one is present here, see number one is present here in the function and in the enclosed scope like 20, 20 take 20, no problem. 20, it will not raise error. See, it will not raise error. 20 outer function like enclosed scope take 20 and local scope also take 20. So take 20. And if I remove and if I remove and see the Python tester file, I got the number one is not defined. Why I got after the function calling, like after the function calling completes and it will call the function, I have defined this number one is equal to 50. If you define this number one in the before the calling, it will first it will take the number one is equal to 50, then it is call. We will see the output. Python test.py. We got the outer function 50, inner function 50, and global 50, like this. See, like another one is, see, copy this one and example. Like there is a function called ABS I'm using here. I'm taking the minus 3. See, if I try to execute this function, I got the 3. This is the ABS is the built-in function. Built-in function present in the built-in scope. Like it is have the built-in scope. It will have this built-in scope. If I try to change this into ABS is equals to some 10, ABS is equals to some 10. Like I'm making this one into 10. ABS is equals to some 10. See the execute and see the type error int object is not callable. That built-in scope that build ABS is changed to the some variable like some variable. If they try to how it is accessed, it not like now it is not like a function. It is like a variable. If you try to use this like access this slide, it will give the 10. See Python test.py. Then it will give. If I'm not one more thing is int function also I'm changing into some to 20 I'm making 20 I'm making. If I try to print int of 10, if I try to use like this, actually before that giving the 10, initializing 10, if I try to so that I'm get the 10, you can give 100. Like int is the one type of the typecasting function. If I try to int is also it is also have the built-in it is a built-in function. It will have the built-in scope. It will have the built-in scope. If I try to execute this, it will give the 100. Actually, it is the function. It is behavior is int behavior is it is going to change our string like string into or not only string. It will take the our any data into the integer. It will convert into the integer. The final output of the int function is it will convert into the integer, pure integer. If I'm changing this int is equals to something, some value like 300 and I have given. If I try to execute this function, let's see, int object is not callable. See, I'm getting type error. Int object is not callable like this. If I if I want to use that one means you can use like this. Use like this. See, I got the 300, 10 and 300. Like I made this one into the variable like this. If I try to access that built-in scope functions or variables in the globally or any function, any local function. If I changed, if I modified that functionality into the something like if I want to change it, if I assign any variable, it will change. It will convert into the global or like uh, it will make change. It will change into the according to the global functionality like actually this is a function we have made it into the some variable like this. It is also function, but we have made this one into the like it I have assigned some variable through that through this assignation it will change it into the variable, some variable like this. List also actually is a function. List also actually is a function. If I give the 400 into the list, 400 into list, if I try to list off, and if I give the some variables like tuples I'm giving like here 10, 20, 30. We know the tuples and 50. If I give the tuples, see what will happens actually. Int object is not callable. Actually, is the int object is not callable. It will change into the int. If I not give this one and try to execute this one, it is a list. It will convert into the list. But we have made it into the equal to list equal to some like not only this, you can give the some list is equals to some like given I have given. If I try to see execute and see string object is not callable. Actually, it is converted into the string. It is converted into the string object. Like it is converted into some variable or object reference. Converted to object reference. If you want to access that one, we have use it directly. We can access within the print of list. Now we can access this one like this. Any global scope, any global functions or variables we try to change in the sorry, not a global. Sorry, bad. It's bad. Sorry. If you try to change the any built-in scope, any built-in scope variables or functionalities in the global scope, it will behave like a it will makes converts and made it will converts into the according to the global or according to the local or according to the enclosed. According to the like if we made it into the made changes into the global scope, it will change, it will behave like according to the our changes in the global scope or a enclosed scope or a local scope. In the function also, if you try to access outer function, outer fun, if a function also, if we call this list and abs or and int, in the function also it behaves like a what what we have changed here in the global scope. In the function also it behaves like a it will behave like a same variables like that only. If I try to access like this, 20, 30, 40, and 50. If you give like this, see, I'm getting like a string object is not callable type error. Why? I have made it into the some object reference. I have made, actually this is the function in the built-in scope, but I have converted this into the in the form of a string, like a string object or string reference. Not only here, if you take the inner function also, see, inner function, inner function. If you try to access comma abs comma int, there is a set is there. I'm giving the slash and it will comes to the, it is from small fashion, it is from small fashion. See, if you try to call, we have to call the inner function also. If we try to call this inner function, see, this inner function also behaves like a how global function, how globally we have changed like this. This one is the example of built-in scopes. Built-in scope, we have changing into the built-in scope variables or functions. We are going to changing or modifying the in the global scope. Not only global scope, we can modify this one into the here also in that enclosed scope and in the local scope also. Copy and paste it. This is the example output. We will see the output. So that's all, friends. We have seen some nice concept here. LEGB rule. We are going to see in the next class modules and how to create our module and how to make it available to the our Python uh, any program. How to make it available to the any program. That's all, friends. We will see in the next class in the modules concept. If you like my content, please like the video and subscribe the channel and please support my channel.